Last night, I spoke with Senator Bernie Sanders from New York, where he was preparing to appear on Saturday Night Live. Here it is. I want to start with some reviews from the debate. First half of the debate on Wall Street, you got some good reviews. But on foreign policy, I want to put up some headlines here, sir. Not so good. Boston Globe, Sanders flunks on foreign policy. Washington Post, Bernie Sanders trips up on foreign policy during Dem debate. New Republic, Bernie Sanders can do better on foreign policy than bringing up Hillary Clinton's Iraq vote. How do you respond to that?
Well, you know, time after time when we have had these debates, the pundits keep thinking that Hillary Clinton wins the debates, but somehow the people do not. And we did very well in Iowa. I think we're doing well in New Hampshire, and I think we're doing well nationally. Look, there is no question that Hillary Clinton has a great deal of experience regarding foreign policy. She was our Secretary of State for 4 years. That gives her a lot of experience. But it is not just experience that matters. It is judgment. And I think that we have the judgment in terms of what we should do with ISIS right now, that we should learn the lesson of the Iraq War, which I vigorously opposed, which means that we cannot, Chuck, do it alone. I will do everything that I can to make sure that our young men and women in the military do not get sucked into a perpetual warfare in the quagmire of the Middle East.
But the concern, I think, is not about your policy on ISIS. Let me play for you something Secretary of State Madeleine Albright said on Saturday. Take a listen.
I've been very concerned about his lack of knowledge. Most people know how many dictators North Korea has. I have spent an awful lot of time on the Hill in a variety of ways. I've gone up and done briefings and all kinds of things. Unless he looked totally different at the time, he has never been to any briefing.
Look, now let me stipulate, Madeleine Albright is a supporter of Hillary Clinton, okay?
Yes.
And she was brought up here by the Hillary Clinton campaign to talk about this. But her concern is about the level of interest you have on foreign policy.
Chuck, it goes without saying. Number one, I have been to briefing after briefing after briefing. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago when I visited with the president, one of the things that we talked about was Iran and foreign policy. It is obviously an enormously important part of what being a president is about. Now, I don't really know this, and maybe the answer is different. Tell me what Madeleine Albright's position was on the war in Iraq.
Right. I don't know.
But I wouldn't be surprised if she supported that war. So, the issue here is not just experience. The issue is judgment. I voted against the first Gulf War, which history will record as the right vote. I led the opposition against the war in Iraq, which history will also record as being the right thing. Clearly, foreign policy is enormously important. And I will tell you this also, Chuck. If you go back to 2008, this is exactly what the Clinton people were doing to Senator Barack Obama. They were attacking him. He didn't have the experience, et cetera, et cetera. I am absolutely confident that if elected president, we will have a very strong foreign policy for the American people.
I think to alleviate some of these concerns, if you told, how about, I know you didn't tell me the other night when I asked you about who your foreign policy advisors are. Give me a few names of people you would end up considering as a Secretary of State or a Secretary of Defense.
I think it's a little bit premature to talk about who your Secretary of Defense is going to be. I will tell you that we have met recently with people like Larry Korb, who actually worked in the Reagan administration, talked to people like Jim Zogby, talked to the people on J Street to get a broad perspective of the Middle East. And I've been meeting with a whole lot of people. But let me reassure the American people, despite what they're hearing from Madeleine Albright, that it goes without saying that a president must be well-versed in foreign policy, must have a strong foreign policy position, and I will, of course, do that.
Let me move on to something else you said from the debate. It was a tough charge. You said, and you yourself said this was going to be a tough charge when you said it, the business model of Wall Street is fraud. Boy, that was a broad brush. And I was thinking about the fact that there's a lot of union pension funds that are invested in Wall Street, 30% in many of them when you look. I was looking up some of these things. A lot of 401ks, a lot of retirements is based on investments in Wall Street. It seems to me, if you believe it's a fraud, you would not like to see money invested in something based on a fraud.
Look, Chuck, what I said I believe to be true. A few weeks ago, as you know, Goldman Sachs reached a settlement with the United States government for $5 billion. $5 billion. Why? And the answer is obviously they were defrauding investors in terms of selling subprime mortgage packages that were worthless. Now, that's my definition of fraud. And other major banks also have received, paid huge settlement fines to the federal government. And what really burns the American people up is after paying $5 billion in a settlement agreement, none of these people, none of the executives on Wall Street get charged with anything. Kid gets caught with some marijuana, gets a police record. Fraudulent activity on Wall Street destroys the economy, no police record for any executives. So do I believe that the business model of Wall Street is fraud? I think the answer obviously is, of course it is.
Very quickly, Super Bowl Sunday, who you got, sir?
Maybe the Broncos.
All right, that's who you're rooting for, or that's who you think you're going to win?
Now I'm rooting for New England Patriots, but I'm afraid that's not going to happen.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.